Welcome back, my boys and girls. So today we are on the Super NT, but what we're really looking at is the SD2SNES. Oh my God, we have a new firmware that now supports Super FX. So if you followed the SD2SNES, it has the best compatibility as far as chips for a Flashcart for the Super Nintendo. Currently, it supports BSX, DSP1 and 1B, DSP2, DSP3, DSP4, ST-010, CX4 for your Mega Man X2 and 3, MSU1, SRTC, so real-time clock, OBC1. And they have a lot of stuff on their to-do list, but we have this pretty sweet new little, side-loaded firmware that was put together from Red Guy. So this is pretty flippin' awesome. If you download this, I'll put all the information in the description so you can find everything that you need. But as you see here, I have firmware version 0.1.7e-GSU version 2. So this was just recently updated to version 2. There was a version 1. Version 2 has fixed certain things. There's some graphics issues with Doom and a couple other things that they have kind of squared away. So there's still some work to be done, I would imagine, for this, but this is so flippin' amazing. There's so many FX games that are awesome that you can now play on your SD2SNES, and some of these games kind of fetch a little bit of money, and then even then, like for example, Star Fox 2, the Super Nintendo Classic version, you can buy a repro of that from, some reputable sellers like retrocircuits.com. They make an awesome version of this that is great. But in the long run, it's nice to have these options. If you don't care about having physical carts for certain games, I do like having physical carts for games that I really want. I like having the SD2SNES to try stuff out on original hardware or on my, Super NT. But this is flippin' awesome. You can now play Star Fox 2, through your SD2SNES. Amazing stuff. We'll talk about how to install this firmware in a moment. I just want to showcase that this actually works and is pretty flippin' amazing. It's a dream come true for a lot of people. Obviously, we still need to get SA1 running. That would be really awesome. That's what we really need as well, is SA1. There's so many games that are great that use the SA1 chip. So I hope that's next for these guys, and I hope this version with the GSU, the Super FX, I hope this gets implemented into the official firmware. Because as of this time, this is not official, and there's going to be certain quirks with this when you take a look at the README file. But I'll go ahead and read that while we're kind of looking at this. You see this game runs. We'll go ahead and check something else out. But to note, with this GSU firmware, they do state this is a beta, so you need to expect crashes and unusual behavior. And I'm going to tell you right now, I have not experienced any crashes or unusual behavior with any of the games that I have tested today. So I'm pretty happy with this. I think the version 2 fixed quite a bit of things. So they go on to say this is a beta version of SD2SNES firmware with support for Super FX, which is the GSU chip. To install, copy the files to the SD2SNES folder, the firmware.img and the FPGA_GSU.bit, and then the FPGA_base.bit into the SD2SNES directory. You also need to make sure you have the latest and greatest official firmware of the SD2SNES from Crix, and that's going to be 0.1.7e. That needs to be on your SD card before you put this GSU version 2 onto that folder. So if you're familiar with how it works, you just take the firmware and you put it onto the root of your SD card. And the folder would just be called SD2SNES. Now inside that folder, that's where you will put the custom, the GSU firmware stuff, all the 3 files that were there. So those you'll just drag and drop into the SD2SNES folder that you got from downloading the official firmware. You want to make sure you don't mess with anything or change anything. But if you already have existing stuff going on with that folder, you can just copy everything over and you will be good. Nothing to worry about. It'll just overwrite everything. But I highly recommend, just in case, to make a backup of your setup, how you have everything. You want to make sure nothing crazy happens, which I don't think will, but just in case, maybe keep a backup of the current SD2SNES folder and firmware that you are using. So pretty much they're just telling you verify that the version says it's the GSU version 2 by pressing X on the main screen of the SD2SNES menu, and we just did that a moment ago, and you saw that. System information will say it. And then it also says saving to SD is temporarily disabled. Make sure to hold the reset button for a few seconds to write the save file to the SD. So that's going to be the biggest quirk that people might be put off by, but I think that's only going to be a very temporary quirk. Like they said, it's temporarily disabled, but I have a feeling in the near future, and especially if this does get implemented into the official firmware, that we will be good and not have to worry about it. But if you want to use this for the time being, you do have to understand that there's going to be some quirks to it. So let's get out of Doom and check something else. And the other thing they also state is that PAL games and systems have not been well tested. Try a NTSC game on an NTSC compatible console if you have problems. And then some of the known issues that they have brought up are going to be that games may crash on startup. Just power cycle and try again if they do it. I have not had that happen yet. Random graphical glitches may happen on game startup. Just power cycle and try again. Like I said, haven't had that happen either. Stunt Race FX may have graphical glitches at the beginning of a race. Let's go ahead and check that one out then. Stunt Race FX. Games will not run at exactly the same speed as the original cart. This may improve in future versions. Not currently compatible with the USB 2 SNES or other SD2 SNES firmware modifications. This will be fixed for USB 2 SNES in the future. In-game hooks do not work. So you have to keep that in mind. Your in-game hooks are not going to work. For me, since I'm using the Super NT, I have the quick reset. If I just press select and up, it'll just reset the game. And since I have the SD2 SNES inserted, if I hold it for a couple seconds, it'll reset to that to the SD2 SNES menu. So not much for me to worry about right now, but still, I think this is an awesome advancement with this sweet-ass Flashcart for the Super Nintendo. It's about damn time, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people have been looking forward to this, and it finally has happened, and I am very grateful for it. There's certain games that it was like, man, for example, Yoshi's Island. I just picked that game up today, and now it works on my SD2 SNES, darn it. But that's okay, because, I think even a lot of us who have an SD2 SNES or any other flash cart, you still like to have original carts for certain games, especially games that mean something to you. I particularly use the SD2 SNES to just test games out, try different things. I really dig it for like homebrews and hacks and stuff like that. But just to have, the Super FX stuff being compatible is really sweet as well. Like Stunt Race FX, I don't know if this is an expensive game or not. I would doubt it. I think it probably isn't. But it's still nice to be like, hey, let me try this game out before I go plop down some money. Even if it's only a $20 game, at least like, hey, checked it out first and decided that this game sucks or whatever the case may be. So that's what I particularly use my SD2 SNES for, is to test and try stuff out. If there's games that really mean something to me, I like to have the original carts or just physical carts in general. Some of these games, I've purchased repros of and stuff like that from, retrocircuits.com. They make some very high quality products, and I definitely enjoy the cartridges that they put out. It still feels like something special versus playing on a flash cart. But, you know, to each their own. Some people are content and just, you know, they're either just going to play all their games on a RetroPie, or they're going to want to play their games on a actual system. And some people are going to want actual carts, repro carts, multi-carts, flash carts, whatever the case may be. And that's cool. You know, there's no right or wrong answers with that. For me, it's kind of, I'm a mixed bag. I like a little bit of everything. You know what I'm saying? And this is just so flippin' sweet to have, you know, even with these hacks too. You know, you got Star Fox hacks and all that kind of stuff. Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, you see this boots up just fine. It doesn't seem like I'm having any glitches or anything with any of these games booting up. So I think that's pretty sweet. If you already have an SD2SNES, I'll have the links out there in the description so you can download all this stuff and get ready to go. Playing some of these games, testing them out. Pretty sweet stuff. Really excited that this was finally put out there and we all can enjoy Super FX games on our SD2SNES. I don't know how many times I've said SD2SNES in this video, but I'm sure it's quite a bit. But we got to get that point across, right? So I appreciate you guys stopping in. Smash that like button, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. All the links will be down below for you. And with that said, I will catch y'all next time. Peace out, guys. Bye-bye. Boom!